Okay, great. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Ariba Hafiz. I am a first or second year medical student at McGovern in Houston, UT Health. And today I'll be your moderator for this Q&A advice for pre-med college students. So thank you all for joining us. Let me start sharing the PowerPoint. Okay, great. So, what is AMWPA to begin with? We are a nonprofit organization founded in 2008. It consists of a group of female Muslim physicians, dentists, and allied health professionals. AMWPA promotes preventative medicine in the community, and the vision is to promote the health, welfare, and education of women. We have been very active during the pandemic, and we have educated the community and provided masks throughout the Metroplex. And we have also provided meals for frontline workers and merit awards to Muslim female students in medicine. So our mission is to improve the condition of women's health and provide a platform for Muslim women in medicine and raise awareness of issues regarding community welfare. We pursue this mission by providing health education and medical resources for women, advancing awareness of health-related issues and community health, and we provide resources for the advancement of Muslim women in these kinds of roles. Before we move on, we'll just do a quick prayer. Wafiqah, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so I will recite the first 5 ayahs of Surah Al-Alaq. I'll read them and then give you all the meaning as well. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. And the meaning, read, O Prophet, in the name of your Lord who created humans from a clinging clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught humanity what they knew not.
Thank you so much. And I'll just hand it off to you to get started. Choosing your major, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the first decisions that you will make when entering your freshman year of college is choosing your major. And if you're pre-med, remember that pre-med is not a path. Pre-med is a path, it's not a major. So you need to pick a major to fulfill your bachelor's degree along with your pre-med course requirements. Also remember that medical schools do not require or prefer any majors over others. So choose any degree plan that you are genuinely interested in and one that can fit all your pre-med course requirements. If you are undecided and if you don't know what major to choose, for your freshman fall, take some intro science courses, such as your pre-med requirements like General Chemistry 1 or Biology 1, and also take some classes in a few subjects you may be interested in exploring. For example, if you're interested in computer science, take an intro to computer science course. If you're interested in health sciences, take a health sciences course, and so on. Next slide, please. And once you've picked your major, there's some things to think about. If you are majoring in physical sciences, so biology, chemistry, physics, or something similar, this already fulfills many of your pre-med requirements, but make sure to take some non-science classes to show a wide variety of interests in different subjects. If you are majoring in a separate or another field, such as math or English, this may help to stand out in your medical school application, but make sure to use your electives and your other free spaces to take the pre-med course requirements and also to take upper level science courses to show that you are still interested in the field of medicine. Some things to consider, will you be taking classes during the summer or J term? And can you maintain a competitive GPA if you take other fields that may be relatively harder? And having to balance that with your pre-med courses. And also, do you have a plan B? Although it is important to stay optimistic about your pre-med pathway, make sure you have another career pathway in mind if pre-med does not work out, and make sure your major can support that. In terms of action items, talk to your department and your pre-med advisor about your plans and make sure they can give you advice on all this. And also gain advice from upperclassmen in your major who may be pre-med, so that you can get the most out of your department. Ultimately, what major you choose will not make or break your medical school application. Instead, try to use your major to explore and express your passions with regards to medicine.
And now, for your degree plan will be presented by Iman. And also, I just want to say to all the watchers, if you guys have questions, please drop them in the chat. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session and I'll, go through all the questions in the chat. Thank you. Iman, go ahead.
So after deciding your major, it's a good idea to know what courses you need to take, their prerequisites, and when you should take them. This will vary based on your school and major, but an easy way to know is to type in your major, followed by your university's name and the term degree plan. A quick Google search will provide you with a breakdown of courses to take by semester. Doing this yourself is very helpful because then you can also plan out when you want to take your MCAT based on when you've completed the necessary courses and also other extracurricular activities, depending on which semesters you have a lighter workload. For example, when you want to volunteer, do your clinical, non-clinical hours, research, and more. I've included below a generalized degree plan that satisfies the requirement for most, if not all, medical schools. So in your freshman year, it's recommended that you should take Bio 1 and 2 plus its lab, General Chemistry 1 and 2 plus its lab, College Algebra and Trigonometry, but this can be substituted with Calculus 1 and its lab if you choose to do so, and any core requirements, which would be your humanities. And then in your sophomore year, it's recommended that you should take Physics 1 and 2 plus its lab, Organic Chemistry 1 and 2 plus its lab, and any other core requirements. And then in your junior year, English 1 and English 2, and then upper level electives, including microbiology, its lab, genetics, and inorganic chemistry. And then in your senior year, other upper level electives such as biochemistry, human anatomy, human physiology, and biostats. But I would like to emphasize that this is only a general degree plan. And as I mentioned earlier, this varies greatly between colleges. For example, students at UT Austin generally take biology 1 and 2 with its lab, and general chemistry 1 and 2 with its lab their freshman year. But students at UTA take general chemistry 1 and 2 and biology 1 and 2 with their labs. And then similarly at UT Dallas, students take general chemistry 1 and 2 with its lab and physics 1 and 2 and its lab their freshman year, and so on. So it truly varies from school to school. And I would also like to mention that at some schools like UT Austin, there's a combined lab for biology 1 and 2 rather than 2 separate labs at UTA. And then another differentiation is that some schools like UT Austin and UT Dallas
Iman, I think you might have muted yourself. I'm not sure. Or if it's just me.
I'm so sorry. Oh,
Okay, we can hear you now. So just backtrack a few sentences.
okay. This is only a general degree plan, as I mentioned earlier, and it varies between colleges. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So for example, students at UT Austin generally take biology 1 and 2 with its lab and general chemistry 1 and 2 with its lab their freshman year, but students at UT Arlington take biology 1 and 2 with its lab and general chemistry 1 and 2 with its lab. But then similarly at UT Dallas, they'll take general chemistry 1 and 2 with its lab and physics 1 and 2 their freshman year, and so on. So it really varies from school to school. And I would also like to mention that at some schools like UT Austin, there's a combined lab for biology 1 and 2 rather than 2 separate labs, like at UTA. And then at some schools like UT Austin and UT Dallas, it's also possible to take the labs at a different time. So you're not taking the lecture and the lab at the same time. But at UT Arlington, you have to take them both together. So again, it's very dependent on your university, but as long as you have the necessary prerequisite coursework, it's up to you to choose the courses in any order that fits well with your schedule. And then I've also included a list of prerequisite courses that are needed for medical school. So while a major is not necessary for medical school, there are some basic prerequisite requirements that you have to fulfill before applying. So you need 12 lecture hours and 2 lab hours of biology, 3 lecture hours of biochemistry, 4 lecture hours of general chemistry, 8 lecture hours of organic chemistry, 6 lecture hours of English, 3 lecture hours of math, and 8 lecture hours of physics. But I would strongly recommend that you also look up the prereq for admission to your desired medical school, especially if you're a non-traditional student. But this is also important for any student on a traditional pre-med pathway, because the major that you choose may not incorporate all of these requirements, so you have to do your own research as well. And then I would also like to add, do not overwhelm yourself. It's recommended to take 12 to 15 hours, and that's for good reason. I'm sure that most of you have heard, but your GPA is very, very important, and you do not want to get burned out your freshman year. And then lastly, after making your degree plan, if you've taken any AP or dual credit courses, I strongly recommend making an appointment with the advisor for your major. Now, this is separate from your freshman advisor, who's gonna only exclusively advise freshmen. So most students who come to college, if they have no college credit, they're gonna spend their freshman and sophomore year primarily completing their prerequisites, which would be, and their humanities. But if you have college credit from AP or dual credit classes, chances are that you've satisfied the requirements for your history, English, and social sciences. So you have a lot more flexibility with your schedule while making your degree plan. So it'd be really beneficial to make an appointment with your major advisor and coordinate with them, because they're going to be able to give you a much more detailed and personalized advice while making your degree plan, and then also introduce you to a lot of opportunities within your major, including things like research, networking, and even mentorship from upperclassmen, which other students may not be told about, and therefore providing you with a head start in your pre-med journey.
Thank you so much, Iman. So now we have study tips presented by Afia.
Assalamualaikum everyone. So I'll be talking to you about the proper study tips, what works for you, what won't work for you when you enter undergrad. So before I begin, studying in undergrad is really different than studying in high school for many people. And there's many reasons for this. One could be because each subject classroom's environment is different. Another one is because the content is a lot more intricate, and in high school classes, the content that you learned was probably more surface level. So finding the right study method that caters to your needs is definitely an important aspect in the success for all your classes in pre-med. So starting with active learning, this is just you going to your lectures, watching recorded lectures, pre-recorded lectures, or any supplemental videos like Khan Academy, Leah for Sci, the organic chemistry tutor. This is when you're learning your content firstly, and like trying to gauge what you're supposed to need for your exams. I definitely say to attend all your lectures, because professors can sometimes give you what's going to be on your exams, which will be really helpful for you to study and know which topics are a little more important than others. And then some professors also give you pre-recorded lectures, and those can help you in case you zone out in class or you're too shy to ask certain questions and they answer it for you in the pre-recorded lectures, or if you just didn't have time to talk to them afterwards to ask them your questions. So definitely take full advantage of all the resources given to you there. The next thing is to review. So constantly review your content, like go through everything that you went through for the class. This can be just going through your notes right before your next class, which can help you go into your next class prepared, instead of you sitting there in the beginning being like, oh, wait, what did I learn last class? What was the thing? What was this? What was that? And you actually are caught up with everything, and then you're more attentive in the next class. It doesn't always necessarily have to be exactly like that. You could also do review on the weekend for your week's class, but I would say to do it before your next class. Don't let it pile up, because your content will snowball and eventually it'll be like a day before your exam and you'll have to go through the entire exams content like a day before, and that's not going to be good, because then you'll be behind. And then the next one is definitely an acquired taste. This might not be for everybody, but group studying is something that can help a lot of people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you learning from other peers. It could also be you teaching to others. But before you do any kind of group studying, make sure you know your content well. Make sure all of your, not all of your, but make sure you know the gist of everything. And if you have any questions, this is probably like a good place to clear them up with your friends, because they might know something that you don't, and you might know something they don't. Like, for example, before I went into my organic chemistry exam, we did a little group study, and one of my friends brought up two reactions that I didn't think was going to be on the exam, and they were on the exam. So that really helped out. So I would say if you do a group study, then definitely know your stuff first so that you don't waste time trying to learn from the start, but you're actually just reviewing on topics altogether. And then lastly, I would say office hours is definitely important. It gives you like a reason to make a bond with your professor if you're the type of person, especially if you're the type of person to be too shy to ask questions in class. Going to office hours is like definitely made for you then. You can go to your professor, ask them all the questions, talk to them, chat with them. You can do anything you want. Some professors hold office hours differently. They do either a mini classroom setting or a one-on-one. Either way, perfect opportunity for you to go and clarify any problems or even go through your quizzes or your exams with them. This shows that you're really interested in their class. This shows that you're trying to do better. And anything that comes off like that, anything that shows that you're a hard worker is definitely good because, as you know, for med schools, you do need rec letters, and rec letters from professors are what you need most. So definitely go to office hours. And then before I finish, before you start all your classes, before you jump into anything, go through all your syllabus and syllabi and make like a calendar with all your assignments and all your exams, quizzes, everything. Usually in their syllabi, they have the dates already in there. So if you make a well calendar for your semester, it will definitely help you not get behind because it's really easy to fall behind in college because you have so many classes you're taking on and you're not consistently being reminded of your homeworks, your quizzes, everything like that. So it's definitely good to see them coming before relying on someone to tell you. Also, I don't know about other campuses, but for anyone going to UTD, there is a student success center, and over there you can just walk in and you scan a QR code, you say which subject you want. They have help for all the science subjects, and someone will come and help you answer your questions. I remember before each and every exam, I would be in that basement of the library in the Student Success Center, just asking all my questions. It's the best way to, in case office hours is full or you missed it or they're not holding office hours the day of the exam, best place to go to answer all your questions. So make sure, and also before I stop, each class has a different method of studying. Some classes are purely memorization based. Other classes will be more practice. So for example, like chemistry, for general chemistry, I definitely recommend doing like practice questions, practice exams. Usually your professor kind of tells you how to best study for the class on your first day. Also, you could ask around to maybe those who are older than you to see like what was their best methods of studying. Some classes like biology are purely like memorization, where you would go through slides, write down notes, stuff like that. So figure out the study tips, studying methods for your classes. Don't get sad if you don't score as high as you want in your first exam. Sometimes people don't. Some people are straight A students from high school and they come in and their first exam is not a good grade, and don't get discouraged with that. That was the word. Don't get discouraged by that. Make sure you know that just because you did bad on the first exam does not mean you're bad in the subject, does not mean you don't know your subject. You do, you just don't, you might not know how to cater to the subject. So you're still learning, you're still figuring out your study methods. So make sure the best way to figure all of that out is to have a consistent plan. Excuse me, have a consistent plan. That's all.
Thank you so much, Afia. All those study tips and your advice, it definitely holds true during medical school as well. So better to, practice that in college so that you're good in med school. Okay, so next up we have clinical opportunities and non-clinical opportunities by Ansah.
So clinical opportunities are important for many reasons in healthcare. It allows you to gain hands-on experience that allow you to apply your knowledge to real-life situations. It also helps you get patient interaction, which is a crucial skill to develop in medicine. And through clinical opportunities, you can practice communication skills, gain mentorship and networking, and overall gain a better understanding of the healthcare system and their facilities. So there are various ways you can find these opportunities, such as volunteering at a hospital. I volunteered at Medical City Arlington one summer, and they had me do a variety of tasks. I was at their front desk, the surgical waiting area, or in the ER where I was shadowing a paramedic and a nurse. And you can shadow, they have a bunch of doctors down there too you can shadow. And each hospital is different, so you do have to apply. So if you're interested in going through hospital volunteering, I would suggest applying in advance from when you plan on starting, because there is an application and then most times there are interviews. You can also go to free clinics like Open Arms, or near UTA, there's Mission Arlington Medical Clinic, or you can also volunteer at the health fairs such as the one AMWPA does. And there are employment opportunities you can gain clinical experience from, such as scribing, medical assistant, PCT, and EMT. Scribing is the only one you don't need a certificate for, but the rest you do. And scribing is really popular right now, and you do have the option of working in a clinic setting or in a hospital. So if you are interested in obtaining a certification for any of those employment opportunities, there are a bunch of online programs you can look into, such as community college. And then for EMT, I know UTA offers a course on campus. So if you're interested in that, you can look more into those programs. For non-clinical opportunities, it is just as important as clinical volunteering. So it shows that you're involved and engaging with your community. It is also important that you volunteer in something that you're interested in. It can include tutoring, going to food banks, shelters, hospice volunteering, and through organizations at school. There are a lot of opportunities at your university, so look out for those, and especially those you are interested in.
Okay, thank you so much, Ansah. Oh, sorry, you have more.
Yeah. So a few tips that I have for keeping up with the opportunities that you get involved in, first would be tracking your hours. You might think you'll remember everything, but there's a chance that you might forget something. So I encourage you to keep a journal, or I even use an Excel sheet from my university's pre-health advisor she shared. So I keep track of my hours and things that I've done on that. And then second would be to start early. In college, your 4 years go by really fast, and you don't want to be rushing while you're almost at the at the finish line. So if you start early, they will add up slowly and be beneficial for you whenever you finish. And lastly, there are so many opportunities out there, so take advantage of them. Whether through school or through an organization, it's good to get out of your comfort zone and get involved.
Okay, thank you, Ansah. Now we have shadowing and research by Khizraa.
So everything Ansah just said, it basically goes hand in hand with shadowing. Shadowing is just you following the doctor, going through day by day. You're either working in a hospital, you're either working in a clinic, operating room. And as she said, scribing, PCA, CNA, all those count as shadowing as well as you getting employment. And usually it's surgeons, orthodontists, physicians performing whatever daily tasks they have during that day. And then at least whenever I used to do shadowing, at the end of each day, the doctor or whoever I was shadowing would sit down with me and they would ask me questions. They would I would basically just relive the day for them. And then at the end, they would either write you a rec letter from med school, and shadowing is extremely important as med schools will see whoever, even if it's your pre-dental, pre-ortho, it's a way that you can tell if like med school is a path for you, if it's the right path in the first place. I mean, you gain clinical experience, you gain all that knowledge. To find shadowing, I started by first contacting my primary physician, as I didn't really have anyone to get mentoring from until I joined American Muslim Women's Physician Association. But I also looked into clinics online. I called clinics, I emailed, I asked my, again, general physician if I could just shadow him. He was a surgeon, and regular general physician. But those are the ways that you can find shadowing from. And then research is also extremely important for med schools. Not all med schools, some require it, some don't. It's between like whatever med school you want to go into, whatever wherever you're applying, everything will be online. But as far as I know, I don't have a general saying in which med school requires research, but you typically need, I would start early freshman year, and it's just independent study and discovery of an interest in the field which you are in. It's either psychology, engineering, science, and you're just understanding the scientific processes and applying mechanical skills into that lab or research, whatever you're doing it, even if it's in psychology with like therapy, stuff like that. And then you'll typically work in a laboratory, usually on campus or off campus, depending on what kind of research you do outside of class hours. And then you'll work with your PI, which is just the person who will lead the research project that you're doing. And then after research, you'll get your publication, which is also extremely important. That's what you're working towards. And then I would typically find research that you're interested in, not something that you can just write onto your med school application, because med schools will ask you, what did you gain? What did you do? And how was it? So something that really touches you, something that you're interested in, passionate about. Some of my engineering friends, they're doing like neuroscience research, something that they're more interested in. Some of my neuroscience friends are doing engineering research. Any research is fine, no matter what major you're doing. And then I would want to start off as so Green Fellowship is, I think it's only for UTD. You're paired with Southwestern, and it's paid undergraduate research for a whole semester. And it's, yeah, whatever I explained, you're working in a laboratory, you gain a recommendation letter, you meet so many people that are applying with you. I think some of that as well. And also SURF, everything is online. Even if you're not at UTD, you're at SMU, UTA, every university has their own research program, research events. That's a good way to find research. And how to get involved, how to find that research is you email professors. Something that I did was I emailed my professor that I became very close with. She was running her own research with mice, sorry. I joined that, I didn't like it. So I went to my chemistry professor's lab, and I started talking to him. I got to know him a little. But making those connections, emailing professors, having good GPA, having a recommendation letter, having your resume is really important to applying to research. You can apply it as a freshman, sophomore, junior, but even if you're doing post-bac, you can still apply to research. There are a lot of faculty-led research programs or events that every school will have. That's also a good way to find the research that you want to get into. And then just getting in touch with your correlated professors, such as like chemistry, physics, your major-related professors. That's also a way to get that research. That's it.
Thank you. And now we have Iman.
So another important aspect of being a well-rounded pre-med student is having leadership experience. And there are a bunch of different ways to gain leadership experience, one way being through those campus clubs and organizations. I highly recommend exploring organizations during your first year of college. Oftentimes during the first few weeks of school, there's going to be some org fairs going on. So definitely check those out so you can get a feel for the different clubs that your college offers and learn more about them. And then once you join those orgs, you can build those relationships and then start working towards getting those leadership positions. And of course, there are also opportunities for leadership through the AMWPA college chapters. So definitely make sure that you check that out. And a quick note is that you don't have to be involved in only medically related organizations. You can also join non-medically related clubs and organizations that match up with your hobbies and interests. When I was in college, I was in an organization where we would volunteer to teach elementary schoolers, and I really enjoyed that. So definitely don't be afraid to explore your interests and hobbies in terms of orgs and campus clubs that your college offers.
Okay, thank you so much, Iman. I'll be talking about the health advising committees. So from my personal experience, I can only talk about UTD. Basically, you submit a very, very rough draft of your TMDSAS application, usually in the fall before you apply. So I applied the summer between my junior and senior year. And so therefore I submitted that like rough draft application in October. And so the objective, the goal is for HPAC to write a committee letter basically saying that, yes, this student would be a good medical student and we endorse them. And so what usually happens is that you'll get assigned an advisor, and then either once or twice they'll review your essays, you'll kind of rewrite, edit, whatever. And then you'll also have a couple of mock interviews. So a few things about this, it is especially important for students with quote unquote red flags. Red flags can mean maybe like you dropped a class or you failed a class and you have to retake, or say, some kind of academic dishonesty or violation. So it's really important for students with red flags. But if you are just, if you kind of have like a clean slate, it's not the most necessary thing in the world. For me, I actually did not end up getting a committee letter because I applied a little bit late. I found out about it quite late. So I think I submitted maybe a week after the submission opened. And so I didn't end up getting a committee letter in time, but that did not hinder me from getting any interviews. I also have I have friends who, got like full rides at Southwestern. They got into Yale and Columbia without having a committee letter. So it is not super necessary if you feel like your application is very sound. So the screenshot that I put at the bottom, that is for UTD. As you can see, the submissions start October 1st. So I would start writing your application a few weeks before. Again, it does not have to be great. It's just a very rough draft. It's just for you to get familiar with the application. So I looked up a couple of other schools. UT Austin does not actually write committee letters. So I'm not really sure, what that's about, but again, it's also really important to just, keep in contact with HPAC just to keep yourself updated on, everything medical related. UT Arlington, the website said that December 6th is y'all's application or your submission. So keep that in mind. Also, another thing that I just want to mention is that HPAC office is where your recommendation letter writers are going to submit their letters, and then they're going to basically put that all in a packet and send it to the different med schools that you're applying to. Whenever I applied, I had 2 science teachers, and then I had a doctor that I shadowed, I had my research PI, and I had my EMT agency coordinator. So I had 5 letters, and that's usually kind of what they ask for. So someone mentioned it earlier, make sure that you are uh, facilitating relationships with your science teachers. You don't have to be best friends with all of them, but at least a couple you should have a good relationship with, so that when it comes time to ask them to write your recommendation letter, they know you and they can write good things about you. Okay. Iman, go ahead.
Okay, and so just to kind of recap what we went over today, make sure that you're staying proactive, you're communicating with your advisor, making sure that you're going through your degree plan at a good rate, stay focused on your classes, get help early on, keep your grades as high as possible, prioritize a work-life balance, get involved on your college campus, and stay active in the AMWPA mentorship program.
Okay, thank you girls so much for your amazing presentations. We'll start the Q&A now. So if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat. Okay, so someone is asking neuroscience or biology regarding your major. Wafiqah, do you have an answer?
It's really up to what you are interested in. If you're asking in terms of like both of these, both neuroscience and biology are considered like physical sciences related. So a lot of your neuroscience and biology requirements will fulfill your pre-med requirements. In terms of like electives, you probably want to take non-science classes to get like a wide range of interests and show like interest in other subjects and be well-rounded. But other than that, it's really up to you to choose if you want to be more focused in like neurology and like the brain, or if you want to be more broad and choose biology.
Yeah, I agree. It's really just up to your own interest at that point, because they'll fulfill whatever you need fulfilled. When do you start the Green Fellowship research?
Usually it's freshmen and sophomores. Oh, I don't know if I should type it in the chat as well. It's freshmen and sophomores, but I have a lot of friends who applied their junior year, and they still got in. So I think it's freshman, sophomore, and junior year.
And someone asked just to, I think, clarify, does neuro or biology have an advantage over one another? No, they don't. It is again up to your own interest. At least at UTD, I have heard I was a neuro major and I liked it more. And I honestly thought it was easier than some of the upper level bio classes that you'll have to take if you majored in bio. There's no advantage. It's purely up to your own discretion. You just have to make sure that you're fulfilling the rest of the requirements. So someone asked, would you send your rough draft to HPAC around your junior year in college then? Yes. So if you are not planning to take a gap year, that means that you are going to start applying in the summer before your senior year. So then that means that you would submit your rough draft to HPAC the fall before the fall of your junior year. If you were taking a gap year, then you would just delay the whole process a year. Okay. Yeah, and this presentation will be in the YouTube video. We've recorded this whole presentation, so the slides will be in the YouTube video. In 8th grade, how can we prepare for freshman/pre-med earlier? So, in 8th grade. So you're gonna start high school soon, and I think just making sure that you you have good grades, of course, that's first and foremost, and you are making yourself well-rounded. So having volunteering or extracurriculars that you like. In general, medical school applications as well as college applications too. They don't want to see that you're just like a bookworm and that you're only doing, school. They want to see that you have other hobbies and interests. So um, so yeah, I think in 8th grade, maybe you can just start volunteering and making sure that your grades are good. Okay, where can I find resources for clinical experience?
There is a lot through like universities, like you can join like organizations like pre-med organizations or any pre-health organizations. They do offer a bunch of like volunteering opportunities, and sometimes they in the group meets they will send out like job opportunities that are available in close by clinics to your university. But if you're looking for like specific employment opportunities, you can go on like any job board and then search up like scribing and then just apply to those.
Great. If you have AP credit for calculus, would you still recommend claiming AP credit for calc? Advisor said it's fine, but it also differs from med schools. Okay, so so I had AP credit for a lot of classes, including calc, including English, Gov, Econ, and then a lot of the science classes as well. What the main suggestion is that you take all of your science classes at the university that you're attending. So even though I had credit for AP Bio and AP Chem, I still took them at UTD. As for the other classes like calculus and English, Gov and Econ, psychology, all those other classes, you can claim AP credit. So I did not have to take any math class in college because except for stats because I had the AP Calc AB and BC credit, nor did I have to take any English class because I had the AP Lang and AP Lit credit. So that was really helpful because then I got to, splurge more of my time in classes that I wanted to rather than taking these English and math classes. Is there certain requirement hours needed for all the extracurriculars?
I think not, but at least for shadowing, you need 40 to 100 hours. But with everything else, I think whatever you can get, whatever is valuable experience, however many hours, I think that's more important. That could be from like 30 hours, 40, 50, 60, 70, but however many hours you can get.
Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier. The thing is in your medical application, you will have different sections. You have like a research section, you have a clinical hours section, then you have non-clinical hours section, then you have leadership. So it's all pretty split up. So again, just the more the merrier. Whatever you can balance with keeping your grades high, because at the end of the day, your grades, your GPA, and your MCAT are what matter a lot. They open the doors, and then the rest of the stuff gets you through the door, if that makes sense. How would you go about creating a healthy work-life balance if it's possible for pre-med? In addition, what organizations did you personally find most helpful for med school application or in general? For work-life balance, I think like someone was saying earlier that making sure that you review your notes and that you are studying each day consistently, that will help you have a work-life balance. Um, by keeping up with your stuff, you won't be, cramming the days or the weeks before your test. Whenever you are cramming, you are so much more stressed. It elevates your cortisol. That's when you start, like losing sleep and gaining weight and et cetera, et cetera. So making sure that you do stuff more consistently rather than just like these cramming, that's going to help your work-life balance. Um, and also, like, you have to get good at time management. I think I didn't know how to time manage in high school, and then in college, you are forced to learn. I think all these girls can agree as well that you really learn how to manage your time, whether that's like Google Calendar, you're using Notion, you're using a real agenda. You just, you got to do it at the end of the day because there is so much stuff that you're balancing as a pre-med student. Orgs that you found most helpful. I was in AED and I was in AMSA. And I was in EMT for UEMR at UTD. The rest of you guys, what do y'all think?
I think molding doctors for UTD, now they have a 4-year plan. They will walk you through everything. And they really helped me at least get like shadowing clinical, like MCAT prep. Yeah, molding doctors.
Does anyone else have any orgs that they want to shout out?
At UTA, there's maps and they have like a bunch of like volunteer opportunities or even like MCAT prep that they offer.
At UTD, there's also Nourishment, which is an organization that helps the underserved communities and also helps you prepare to like help them. So they do like projects where you go and teach workshops to students about stopping the bleed, doing bone repair, stuff like that. So that's a really good organization to join if you want hands-on experience.
Yeah, Nourishment was probably my favorite org that I was in at UTD. Nourishment is a great, like, I think also when you are volunteering or choosing your volunteer opportunities, you should try to focus on things that help underserved communities and populations, because one, you will get a lot of great life experience, and two, you also have to keep in mind that your medical application, you're going to be writing essays on like things that mean something to you, right? So seek out opportunities that you will find actually fulfilling and that you can write about. Okay. The video slide, so the slides is in the YouTube video. I think the link was sent above, but we'll send it again. How would you go about doing research, shadowing, organization, leadership all at once during your time at college, and what extracurriculars did you prioritize?
I can take this one. So going into freshman year, I would say like prioritize having a solid foundation over doing all of these at once. So especially like freshman fall, it might be good to focus on your academics and really practice all the different study tips that we suggested. And once you have a good grasp of taking classes and being able to do well in classes, then you can add in one thing, maybe research or maybe just shadowing, or maybe joining like 2 different orgs you are interested in, and then go from there. So try to have a strong foundation and then add from there each semester and each year. Everything doesn't need to start freshman year. And then also in terms of what extracurriculars to prioritize, prioritize the ones that you're interested in. Because at the end of the day, it's not really what extracurriculars you do, but what you do in them. So what impact can you have in the extracurricular? And you can only do that if you're interested in it and you're consistent in it. So try to focus, try to join some clubs and then stick with what interests you.
Great. Does finishing some prereqs at community college affect my med school application? I don't know super well. I'm thinking that if you did your science prereqs at community college, then that might be an issue because med schools usually want to take your science classes at the university that you graduate from. However, if you take, things like history or English, like that should be fine at a community college. Does anyone else have any input on that? Okay. What resources helped most when studying for pre-med recs at university? So studying.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So for studying for your science classes at university, it really, I think it heavily depends on your professor because they are the ones making your exams. So for example, at UTD for general chemistry, there are like 4 or 5 professors, I think, and one of the professors write most of the questions for the exams. So I took his class, and I think that was very helpful because his classes and his lectures is what catered to the type of questions he would ask. Also, he would hold the most review sessions. So even for those who didn't get his section, like he would be teaching other sections too in his review session. So it really depends per class. For biology, it's mostly memorization. So whichever professor you take, you will most likely be memorizing the same thing for either section. It just depends on the type of questions you'll get. Some questions are going to be more like deep level knowledge, like probably more detail oriented. Some other questions might be more surface level. It really depends. For organic chemistry, I would heavily suggest watching like Leah for Sci. I can write it in the chat. Or the organic chemistry tutor. The OChem tutor is good for like every single subject. Like it's an amazing YouTube channel. Khan Academy is also really good. For OChem, I would say practice questions. Usually they give you a set of practice questions, at least at UTD, for your exams and quizzes. You'll have like practice quizzes, practice exams, stuff like that. So it really depends on what they give you. You could also ask people who are going to your school who are older than you. How'd you study for this? Because that's how I did it. I would ask them, how'd you study for physics? How'd you study for chem? Stuff like that. So per class, you would have to see what resources your professor gives you, what resources your campus gives you, and then ask questions about those.
Yes, I agree that having like an older student that can mentor you in your classes, that would be perfect. Also, for memorization classes, using a flashcard kind of software, either Anki or Quizlet or something like that, that is super helpful. Iman, I think you wanted to add something. You're still muted, sorry.
Sorry, I was gonna say, kind of going off of what you and Afia said, reaching out to your upperclassmen can be probably, like, I would say, one of the most beneficial, because a lot of universities, they hand back, the professors, they hand back their exams, so they will likely have their past exams with them. And professors may not, like, the format of the exam and the types of questions they ask won't change that much. So if you ask them, that would be like a great resource. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And AMWPA also does mentoring and MCAT pairings, so definitely join your college's chapter of AMWPA. And then also someone is asking what the majors of all of us is slash were. I was a neuroscience major at UTD.
I'm a bio major at UTD.
I'm a public health major at UTA.
I'm a double major in neuroscience and psychology at UTD.
I was a neuroscience major at UT Austin.
I'm a bioengineering major at Harvard.
I'm a biochemistry major at UT Arlington.
So those were all the questions so far in the chat. If anyone has any other questions, please go ahead and ask them. And also I just want to say for MCAT, that's like a whole beast in itself. So definitely look into the AMWPA MCAT resources and MCAT pairings. Some of you might be too young to even think about that right now, but I will just say the classes that you have to take like a certain the certain classes before you take your MCAT. So that is also something that's adjustable in your four-year degree plan. A lot of stuff depends on if you are planning to take a gap year or not. Because if you are not taking gap year, then technically you only have like 3 years to do everything you need to, because you apply before your senior year. If you are taking a gap year, then you have like basically all 4 years of college. So I think we don't have any more questions. Does anyone else have any last minute things they want to advise? Someone is asking, should you take classes in community college? Again, that is, you can, but you should not take your science classes in community college. You should take them at the university that you will graduate from. Okay, so just to reiterate, the recording of this meeting will be on YouTube. We've sent the link a few times in the chat. The slides will also be on YouTube. And please feel free to email me with any questions. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. If anyone else wants to as well, you can. And yeah, if there's nothing else, then we can conclude this meeting. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. Appreciate you all. You were great. Recording is finished, I hope, right? Is the recording finished?
I think it's
No.
still recording.
I